Hello there, well, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to this week's installment of the Blockchain Developer Weekly Digest, and I'm your host George. And without any further ado, I would like to dive straight into the news from the past week. So, first things first, we have some Ethereum news, and let's start with some new libraries that are coming up. So, there is this new library called Vueterium coming from Vue.js, the framework for web development, and Ethereum. So the guys from Ethereum have actually created a library that can do very cool stuff very easily in Vue. Couple of these things that you can do are, for example, you can very easily instantiate a smart contract component directly from the ABI and address given. You can create a funny little component for transaction status. You can create a component for representing whether your Web3 has been enabled. And last but not least, you can create these funnily looking avatars from addresses and hashes. So for those of you that are keen on working with Vue.js, well, there is something new on the blog that you can now start using. Great job to these guys. And on the matter of Vue comes the next piece of news. There is now actually an alternative to Remix. It's called with the code name Solidity IDE. So there is a new IDE in town that is web-based again, that is based on Vue.js. And for now, it's kind of simplistic. It cannot do a lot of things that Remix does, but it works quite faster, and it's easily integratable into different projects. So keep an eye on Solidity IDE and see what's going to be there. And these are like on the front end part of the libraries. Of course, there are the regular framework libraries news from the world of Ethereum. So Web3.js has a new version, and let me see what's in there. So most of this is bug fixes and implementation to some new EIPs. More interestingly, there is another new framework for smart contract development called Bidler, Buidler. Very cool name, very interesting name. The differentiating factor of this framework for everything that's there, like Lime, Truffle, Embark, is that you can actually specify through plugins and configurations a lot of stuff. So you can specify what library you're using. You can write your own plugin to make Bidler behave as you want to. So keep an eye on Bidler, and you're going to see hopefully a lot of things out of this Ethereum Foundation grant funded project. And last but not least comes from LimeChain, our company, and take it however you want. But we have released a new product called LimePay that actually is going to enable your users, the DApp users, to actually execute blockchain transactions through the use of credit cards. So instead of the general UX flow where your DApp user need to go to Coinbase or exchange of such sorts and get some Ether, then go and exchange this Ether for some tokens, stuff like this. Actually, with LimePay, this is now embedded into the DApp itself. All of this is working through meta transactions, so it's working with signed messages, and the LimePay platform is not in custody of any funds that are not owned either by the DApp or the user itself, and these parties are actually in control of their funds. So the platform itself does not introduce a new risk vector, but instead actually augments the user experience and gives for adoption purposes. So I'm not going to spoil any more the fun. Visit limepay.io and you're going to see what exactly is there, or message me in the comments and I can give you more information there. So pretty much this is what happened this week. It wasn't that eventful week for the Ethereum community. However, there are a couple of news from other networks. And first things first, for the Eternity network that we spoke last week, the very cool tool called Forge AE, Forge, which is, you can think of it like the equivalent of Ethereum or Truffle for Eternity, has released a new version that now you can now actually see the history of deployments for your deployments, for your executions of your deployment scripts. The new version is 1.1.0, and in addition to the history of deployments, you can now use the latest version, the SDK of the Eternity SDK is 1.3.2 there, and some new command line parameters. So major changelog you can see in the description below that I'm going to link. Last and a little bit sad news come from the Hyperledger ecosystem, and one of my favorite tools when it came to quickly drafting up stuff with Hyperledger was called Hyperledger Composer. And unfortunately, the Hyperledger folks actually have decided that Hyperledger Composer is not going to be supported and developed anymore, and version 0.20.7 is going to be the last version that there is. And for those of you that don't actually know what Hyperledger Composer is, I love their main catchphrase. It's building POCs in weeks instead of months. So it augments a lot of the setup work, a lot of the chain code work that you would need to normally do in favor of creating something really fast. Of course, this is not production ready, but for companies that want to run POCs, it's amazing tool. You can literally create some minimal viable products or POCs in the matter of weeks instead of months. So sad news here. Probably I'm going to continue using them for some time, or at least until the next major release of Hyperledger Fabric. But yeah, sad news for those of us that were using Composer. Let's hope one day they reconsider and continue developing Hyperledger Composer. And I think actually this was pretty much it from the blockchain week, developer week from last week. If we have to do a recap from the Ethereum world, we have some updates and some new libraries in the more in the client side department, updates of Web3.js and the new builder framework. We have a new and very inspiring alternative to Remix. And of course, LimePay came to the scene, so go ahead and check LimePay if you want for your users to be able to use your DApp like any regular app, e-commerce app. For Eternity, there is new version of Forge with history of deployments, and for Hyperledger, unfortunately, the news this week is the discontinuation of the Hyperledger Composer. And yeah, pretty much this was it, guys. Like every time, don't forget to subscribe to our channel so that you're up to date with any news that come there. Don't forget to follow me on Twitter. Don't forget to share this video. Don't forget to retweet the tweet that I'm going to share. And I hope to see you next week again. See ya. Bye.